The American 2024 presidential election. Arguably the most important election worldwide. But I've noticed something different in the last election. And in this video, I'm going to find out if it was the most important factor in this election. On the 5th of November, Trump won the Electoral College with 312 electoral votes to Harris's 226. I personally believe that social media played the biggest role in this outcome. To explore this, I'm going to investigate the social media data, experiments and stats available on both candidates. There was a study done by the Beaver to find out if social media played a big role in deciding who they wanted to vote for. And the results were an impressive 92% of the people interviewed immediately said that social media played a huge role. But how? The simple answer will be to examine what people do on social media, share and receive information. Indeed, 78.5% of the respondents said that their primary source of political information was platforms like Twitter or TikTok. If 92% said that social media played a huge role, and 78.5% of them said that their primary source of political information was platforms like Twitter or TikTok, then that means that around 72% of voters had a social media platform as their primary source in deciding who to vote for. But let's have a look at where most voters got their news from, and what kind of results does this have? Well, according to the BBC, more than half of the people get their news from Facebook, X and YouTube, overtaking TV and news sites and apps. This statement released by the BBC might seem biased. They are television networks after all. Traditional media have rules that are honored by journalists, being impartial and fact-checking information before publishing it. Influencers do not play by the same rules, allowing them to create more sensational content, learning into or inherit bias towards negative news. Influencers, who often get special access but rarely ask difficult questions, with many implicated in spreading false narratives or wars. Despite their popularity online, influencers and personalities were named as a major source of false or misleading information by almost half of people worldwide, putting them level with politicians. Misinformation was a major factor as well, but what other impacts did it have? The report also stated that usage of X for news is stable or increasing across many markets, with the biggest uplift in the US and since Elon Musk took over the network in 2022. Many more right-leaning people, notably young men, have flocked to the network, while some progressive audiences have left or are using it less frequently. And in the US, the right-wing demographic is generally associated with the Republican Party, the party that nominated Donald Trump. But what was Donald Trump and Harris's social media reach during the 2024 presidential election? Let's find out. First, let's have a look at TikTok, where from July to the 5th of November, Trump had a total of 1,220,900,000 views, and Harris had a total of 1,357,928,000 views. However, on average, Trump had 22.18 million views per single TikTok, and Harris had 5.94 million views per TikTok. While Harris's team published 229 videos, Trump's team released only 55. Despite this, Trump's videos achieved significantly higher engagement on TikTok. Now, let's have a look at YouTube, where Trump had a total 41,209,000 views, which was around 80% more than Harris's 18,990,000 views. And per video on average, Trump had 330,000 views and Harris averaged 132,000 views per video. But what other engagement can we compare? Another significant social media platform is Instagram. In the lead up to the election, Square, a social media analytics and influencer marketing platform, stated that Harris had a lower following with 18.61 million followers versus Trump's 26.75 million followers. However, Harris had more influencers mentioning her in posts. 3,000.89 influencers mentioned Harris compared to 2.22 thousand mentioning Trump, while engagement was equal with 2.43% Harris and 2.29% for Trump. The article elaborates further on what we know for now. Trump's strong engagement rates could be explained by the fact that he is so well known by the electorate, and his base is fervent and vocal in their support. Harris, meanwhile, is still working to let voters know who she is, and to convince them why she represents a positive change from the unpopular current president. After reviewing the statistics for all the major social media platforms for the two presidential candidates, what other factors should we look at? Something else that is also important to know is that Trump has his own platform that averages 6.08 million users per month, called Truth Social, and from July until the 5th of November, while Harris doesn't own a social media platform. And you may wonder, how these stats help me show the answer to my question? Well, this shows us that not only platforms like X have a lot of right-leaning people flocking to the network, but also that when we look at these numbers, that Trump tends to have an upper hand. After evaluating all these statistics and opinions, it is evident that social media played a critical part in how the information was spread during the election. Was this the most important factor? In my opinion, yes. As a fact, that is less clear. Elections are complicated and people don't just vote for a single person. Other factors that played a role was the gender issue with the US still waiting on its first female president, or the fact that Harris wasn't the Democratic Party's top nominee from the offset. What is clear is that social media isn't just a trend, a niche, but a central communication tool and strategy. And by looking how this plays out in other countries as well, we might start to understand just how deeply it shapes the choices people make.